so far, and a stack of numbers to consider: 11, 14 and 15. 11 different race winners, 14 different people on the podium, 15 points the difference in our championship, and the back half of it as we get into the Pertec Enduro Cup is going to be fantastic. We're looking forward to a big run all the way to Sydney at the back end of the year. Now, if you wandered around the paddock here and discussed with drivers young and old who the master of the business is, I reckon you'd be a fair chance to say that the answer coming back would be Jim Richards. And earlier this week, his old mate Mark Skaife had a chance to catch up with him.
Well, joining me today is a great friend of mine, one of the most accomplished race drivers in this part of the world. He's won 7 Bathursts, 4 championships, 8 Targa Tasmania events. Jim Richards, thanks for your time, mate.
Pleasure, no problem, great to be here.
Richard, have you ever thought about that record, the success, just contemplated that sitting around having a beer, just thinking, wow, what a journey?
Listen, I suppose you do occasionally, but when I started out, I didn't expect anything. I started out just driving as fast as I could and as hard as I could, and along the way, people had recognised that you weren't doing a bad job, and you get drivers in the right teams and the right cars, and success takes care of itself. But to be still doing it now and still enjoying it, that's fantastic.
So it's a pretty competitive series, isn't it? The Touring Car Masters has got some good drivers in well-prepared cars.
No, it certainly has, and it's a bit like going back to where I started. I started in 60s model cars, and it's just good fun, and the cars are still nice to drive.
I've never asked you this. We've had the odd beer talking about this sort of stuff, but I've never asked you, is there a favourite racetrack?
Well, I think Bathurst, you'd have to say Bathurst. I do like Melbourne Grand Prix track and quite a few of the other circuits for different reasons, but Bathurst is unique in the world, so I'd have to say Bathurst.
It is actually coming back up to that time of year again. Do you still get excited about going there?
I certainly do. We've stayed in the same motel for 36 years.
The Gold Banner.
Gold Banner, yeah. But no, I still enjoy it. No matter what car you're in, it's still a terrific track to drive around.
Is there a place that you think right now, wow, that's a place that's probably as dangerous or as wild as you can remember?
Listen, you'd probably have to hark back to Bathurst as a really wild race in '92 when we had rain, dry, and get caught out on a wet track with slicks on. I mean, that was sort of wild as it's got in my lifetime. So I'd have to say '92 Bathurst.
Yeah. If you had to sit down and say, what's your top 5, or who are your top 5 race drivers, who would they be?
Well, I think because I've driven mostly against the Australian drivers, I'd have to say, in my early days, it would have to be Alan Moffat, Peter Brock, yourself driving against, Dick Johnson, John Bowe, of course, and I really had a lot of respect for Colin Bond. I thought he was a fantastic driver in whatever he got in. So those guys, obviously there's a lot more, but you'd have to single those out.
Is there a drive that really stands out for you? Is there a time at a place where you thought, that's as good as I've ever driven?
Listen, I think personally, for myself, I would say one of the best drives that I had was 2003 Bathurst in your cars. I thought I drove fantastic then. I qualified really well.
You out-qualified me.
I know, but...
Bloody, you're 56, you out-qualified me. I'm still dark about it.
I learned off you.
I'm still dark about it.
But I think in the race I drove really well, and the last part of the race, I think I only got 6th, but I was doing times as quick as the guy that was leading the race. So that to me meant that I'd done a great job on that day, and I really believed that and mean it. I thought 2003 at Bathurst was one of my best drives.
How did you get Gentleman Jim? You didn't do a Russell Engel and come up with your own nickname, did you? Like Russell decided he was going to be the enforcer. You didn't one day wake up and say, I'm going to be Gentleman Jim, did you?
Well, Gentleman Jim sounds better than the enforcer.
Yeah, it certainly does. And it's better than the enforcer.
But no, a few guys would say that it's you've got Gentleman Jim because I say sorry after I've run them off the track. but no, listen, I've never deliberately ran into anyone and punted them deliberately. I've made some mistakes, and I've glided off a few cars, but never deliberately.
Tell me your strategy, because you taught me this. Tell me what you do. Tell me what you do.
Just drive as hard as you can and try and miss the cars in front.
Excellent, Richard. Thanks for your time, mate. My shout for lunch or dinner.
About time.
Good stuff. See you, mate.
Jimmy Richards, an absolute legend of the sport. And on that topic, Shannon's Legends of Motorsport returns on 7 again next weekend. We mentioned his name there a moment ago, the enforcer, but the original enforcer was actually Alan Grice. We've got a 1-hour special on Gricey. It was shot at the Bathurst Motorsport Museum with an audience and one of Alan's old great cars in the background. Next Saturday, 30th of August on 7, mate. Check your local guides. Really looking forward to it. Coming up this afternoon, lots more motor racing action to come, including those Touring Car Masters live. Johnny Bow's got another pole position in that beautiful old Mustang. There's some great cars, and we've got races number 26 and 27. 26 laps each, 100 kilometres. It's all here on 7.